In this video, I'll be showing you how to turn Captain America from Civil War into Captain America from Endgame. Let's get into it. So, to begin this process, before recording, I had already, done the front scales on the suit, as well as the star, because when this figure was released, it was 2016, so Captain America Civil War had just released. And so in my collection, I had him as, the Captain America suit from there. And then Infinity War was released, so I, removed the sleeves, shaved off the star, and had him as my Nomad figure, which, how he looked like in the Wakanda battle in Infinity War. So now that Endgame was released, I wanted him to be part of the Endgame collection. So what I'm doing is re-sculpting on the arms, the sleeves that I cut off. So I'm just smoothing it out with sandpaper to get it a nice transition from the rest of the suit into the gloves. And now I'm going to be adding a flat black base coat, which is the paint that I'm using is Res, which is the same brand of paint that I have been using for the past couple of projects that I use, paints with airbrush. And again, once again, I will link this in the description along with the paints that I use, which, for black, white, and gray, it's Res. And then for colors, I use Vallejo acrylics. And those paints are nice and thin, so for any project similar to this, when you don't want it to ruin the sculpt, those paints are, adequate. And as well as the metallics that I use are either, I used the all-clad paints when I'm using the airbrush, so when it's like a, Iron Man or any of that, which is a large surface area that needs to be metallic, I use all-clad. And then when it's small detail works, the Vallejo pack that I bought, which I will once again link in the description, I used was it came with a silver paint and it's just an acrylic. And then I also used testers, but it's an enamel paint, so I don't like using it because after a while it doesn't really even like dry good. It ends up being tacky and sticky, and it basically ruins. I've done a couple of Iron Man customs where I used that paint for the entire figure, and it just was completely ruined. It's sticky. I left it around. It has like dust collected on it. It's just not a very good paint to use. If you do small details, buckles and things like that, it won't be a problem. But when it's large surface areas, I suggest using all clad paint. Now what I'm doing is actually sanding the joints, and I just got done sanding the tops of the shoulder pads, and that's to impede to not impede the motion, when you tilt the arm upwards. And also the whole point of using an old action figure is to have, a sculpture, basically the sculpture that's posable, that can be in any dynamic pose that you want it to be. If I didn't want to still have the ability to pose it, I would have just made, a statue or a sculpture, that wasn't one pose. But that's what I'm taking advantage of, is the posability, and wanting to maintain the continuity of the paint as well. So wherever I painted it, I want the paint to stick, and that's what the sanding is for, is there to be less rub between the joints when there's movement. And all I'm doing is getting the Res black, and because it's nice and thin, I'm just applying it directly onto the joints and just letting it dry. And like I said, because it's sanded now and there's more of a gap between the joints, it will not scrape the paint off. Now preparing the head for painting. So what I do is I get a bit of monster clay. You can use like any type of putty you have, and then I use that to fill into the peg hole, and then stick a toothpick in it, and I can stick it on a piece of foam core or anything that you have lying around. So I'm just starting with a clean coat of it's a navy blue. I'm just mixed up the blue that comes with the Vallejo pack with a little bit of black, so that it's not vibrant at all. And I don't want to apologize for the blurry image. The camera that I have does not have a very good autofocus, so whenever I notice that it's not focused is when I'll manually focus it, and that's why there'll be some blurry video when it comes to close-ups. So right now I'm just leaving the cracks still black, so that there's some depth to it and some sort of battle damage to it. And then deciding on certain parts that will be a bit more vibrant with the blue. And I'm adding a base coat of a skin tone that I mixed. I might do a video detailing how you mix paints and sort of the color theory behind that, but that's too big of a topic to go in depth in this video. It would just be too long to explain in just one video. And like I said, I did do a base coat of skin tone, and it's a bit darker than what you would expect for the skin tone, because now going with a lighter tone, dry brushing it.
I've been living fast, still far from average. Real talk, all this shit is right outside what I imagine. Young, black, and raspy, catch me with a lab. Young nigga make the slap that make her body do magic. Won't stop to my bank account magnets.
Now I'm coming in with a slightly pink tone for the lips. Not too pink. Do not add too much red to the mix when you're mixing it, because we don't want to look like he has lipstick, obviously. And now, as I said, I'm dry brushing now a bit of a yellower tone and dry brushing it onto the rest. Now what I'm doing is adding the bruising and all the battle damage to the face. And what I'm looking at is an image from the Endgame final battle and seeing where the actual battle damage was and where all the blood was. And now I'm also adding a little bit of dust and it's just a black dry brush to add like dirt. And in the final battle you can see that he's just covered in dirt and grime, and it's really because first off the explosion of the Avengers compound, and then overall the battle as well. And now I'm using this needle tool to block in the position and the shape of the eyes, and later I can come and clean it up. And also blocking in the A on the forehead, and in parts that are smooth, like the forehead, you can use your nail to just scrape it off. Maybe just in this instance where it's just a little bit of paint and it's kind of wet too, so once it's dry I don't think you can do it, but in this instance it's possible. And also using that same silver to dry brush on the helmet so that it looks like it's metal on the like the paint chipped off and the metal is being revealed, even though it's actually plastic. So with that same needle tool that I was using earlier, I'm blocking in the pupils. I do it that have a little white speck to look like a little glare on the eye, and I always like adding that because it looks like it adds a little bit of life to it. And now I'm dry brushing in the same blue color. I just mixed another batch of it and dry brushing in it so that there's still a little bit of black. There's still a little bit of that black undertone, so it's not too vibrant.
Since I put it down how you need it, bet I make it all, don't wanna leave it. You switch up how I breathe every time I see it. Yeah, knowing what you want, I know just what you need. Yeah, yeah. Here's the thing, I got you falling through for the weekend. Since I put it down how you need it, bet I make it all, don't wanna leave it.
Now what I'm doing is actually airbrushing white on the abdomen area, because I was noticing that the white wasn't coming out clean, and obviously I had already base coated it black and then applied the red and everything, but I thought that it was gonna come out a lot nicer if I just airbrushed it, and it did. It made it look nice and clean, and it made the white look nice and crisp as well. And now I'm just cleaning up the edges because I decided not to mask. I didn't think it was gonna be a lot of overspray. I was actually correcting it. I whatever chance I get to avoid masking, I think that's amazing. And now once again, just cleaning up some edges, you know, fixing up the belt because that did get a little bit of overspray, but nothing too major. And then coming in, just darkening up the areas like surrounding the scale armor to really make it pop, so make it those darker. And I believe later I do dry brush the scale armor with a bit of metallic blue. Yeah, you can see there, a little bit of metallic blue as seen on the actual film. So what I like to do in this instance where, you know, I'm actually following the sculpt, so those red and white lines are actually from the sculpt. So I like to do a bit of a back and forth action, so, you know, apply the red and come back with the white, and then just make sure that the edge is looking nice and clean. And now just finishing off the belts, also added silver on the buckles. Overall, hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for the final review.